Everyone says how horrible it will be to renovate or build your house. We're here to say it doesn't have to be that way. Join 3 seasoned architects as they interview homeowners who recently completed a large project and ask them one simple question. What do you know now that you wish you knew before you started? Welcome to Home, the Second Story podcast.
Hi, and welcome to a snack-size episode of Home, the Second Story. I'm Marilyn Modinger from Runcible Studios, along with
Sheri Scott from Springhouse Architects.
And Taylor Davis from TPD Architect.
Today, we're talking about connections between inside and outside. So it's a big thing that a lot of people really want. It's one of the main reasons why they want to design something custom. What do you guys think? What are some things you're doing now?
Yeah, I agree. Indoor, outdoor living. That's what I always hear. And one thing that's interesting to me is it really depends on the climate you're in. People in Ohio come to us all the time and say, I want a whole wall of doors that, cascade open. And those are amazing. And they're willing to pay for it. And then once we get into design and budgeting and all of that, it almost always goes away because in Ohio, maybe you get 4 weeks where it's nice to have everything open without a screen, without anything. Yeah. And they end up deciding for themselves that the value isn't there.
We do a lot of screen porches, climate-wise in Alabama. People need shade and they need some protection from the skeeters. And there's a lot of skeeters here. And it is a screen porch is probably one, like if you look at realtor listings, screen porch is like one of the top things everybody lists. And we do 4-season ones. We put them with fireplaces. We put heaters on them. We put televisions out so people can watch football games. There is a lot of indoor, outdoor connection between that too. And a lot of times, we obviously still need a little protection from the sun and the heat, and people put big fans and everything out there, but screen porches are a huge part of most of the projects that we do these days.
Well, I'll chime in and talk about on our Boston projects, we often don't have yards. We are doing condos, or we're up high, or it's a row home or a townhouse or something. And you walk in right off the street into your house and you might not even have a backyard. So we try to do roof decks. So that is something, I'm not from Boston. I'm from Lancaster. And when I moved to Boston, what I noticed is no one does summer harder than New England people, because it's like, there's 8 weeks of gorgeous weather and you fought through the winter, which lasts for 8 months. And so all you want to do is be outside. So finding any little square inch to do an outside space. So we do roof decks or porches or things, even if it's just tiny, just being able to open up some windows or a door up to an outside space that even just holds a couple of chairs makes a huge difference, makes the house feel bigger. And so even on those really tight projects, we're still trying to carve out, some outdoor space.
Yeah. I think it's really funny because y'all are talking about having to only get 4 to 8 weeks of time when it's really nice to be outside. Like our time to stay inside is during the summer, and we're outside the other 3 seasons of the year. Like that's when it's nice to have a fireplace out on the screen porch. I mean, it really is such a climate driven conversation about what you're going to do. Are you going to, and it goes to everything from porches and opening doors and how big they're open to what do you put out there? I mean, do you put outdoor kitchens out there? Do you want to stand out there and cook in the heat? Or are you excited about, so it filters into amenities too. I think, is it a pool? Is it a lap pool because you're only going to use it a couple of times a year? Kind of what are those sort of amenities that you're seeing? What are you connecting to when you open up those doors?
Yeah. One thing we do a lot on our city projects is bike storage. So a lot of people, they might have one car for a family of 5. So they ride bikes all the time around the city. So or the kids might ride bikes to school or whatever. So we have bike storage as a big deal. And turns out storing bikes takes up a lot of room. So, so we've done different things where we'll line the room with tiles so that the muddy tires come in and it's not a big mess. Or do we have outside storage and inside storage? Because in the wintertime, the bike needs somewhere to go for the winter. Is it a cargo bike with like the kids seats or the grocery getter bike or whatever? So that's something that, that we're often providing is bike storage.
Yeah. And it depends also on what the client's priority is. So we've done, it's really fun when their priority is entertainment.
Yes.
Because then we get to do, a serving window, either from a bar area or from a kitchen area to serve out to this beautiful covered space, usually with a pool, and then a pool house, which can double as a guest house. I know we're doing a lot of pool houses, and that was a function of COVID around here anyway. Everybody wanted a pool. So now we're getting lots of calls to put in a pool house at the end of the pool, which is great. And then you have to decide, well, is there going to be plumbing out there? Because if you don't, you have to figure out where a pool bath is going to be in the house and how far through the house you have to walk to get to it with wet kids and suits and all of that.
Yeah, that's a big deal. The pool, because sometimes for our clients, the pool and pool house might be a phase 2. Mm-hmm. So we're actually planning in the initial renovation or addition or whatever we're doing or new build or whatever, we're planning ahead. Like, okay, here's the pool bath now. Here's how the kitchen's going to work now. But we're planning this out so that you can hook in the outdoor kitchen or hook in the other stuff and do that as a phase 2. Yeah, but we're trying to think ahead. And it's actually really fun to sort of master plan all that stuff. We will often bring in a landscape architect to help with that so that we're master planning and making sure that we're not doing anything stupid now in the first phase that's going to wreck what might be possible in the next phase, which might be, a couple years from now, but, it's coming down the pike.
And I will echo Marilyn's comment about working with a landscape architect. We work with landscape architects pretty frequently. And I will say it's probably one of my favorite collaborations because they have, and I will also say this, my thumb is pretty black. It is not green. There is so much that I don't know. And I learn so much every time I work with a landscape architect about native plants and what's going to hold the soil the best and drainage and all of the things that are really important to your property. So I'm going to advocate for architects clearly, but I'm also going to advocate for landscape architects because I think they are incredibly talented and have a whole lot that they can contribute to a project to really make it feel finished.
Amen.
I totally agree. We have several projects we're working with landscape architects, and they just bring a different energy. And my experience has been so positive in the collaboration in terms of them wanting to enhance the architecture with their landscape work. It's really fun.
And their drawings are beautiful.
They're so pretty.
They are beautiful. They are so pretty.
Well, and honestly, like architects like to think they can do kind of anything, but the truth is that we don't have expertise in things like plants and stuff like that, or most of us don't. Whether it's landscape architects that that are friends of mine or that I've collaborated with, I just tell them, doesn't it stress you guys out? Like I build a building and it's there and we're good. When landscape architects design something, it's not going to look good for like a couple of years. Like things are growing in and the tree needs 20 years to be really big. And they're just like, yeah, that's cool. And I'm like, that's so stressful. So you're right about that different energy and helping people understand the maintenance and the care that comes with a landscape and making sure that that matches up with what the homeowner wants.
Right.
If they're like, I want an ornamental rose garden, and you're like, okay, so you have to be roses, like that's a really big deal to care them or whatever, like insert plant here. But I also think, one piece of advice that a landscape architect gave me that I followed on my own house, and they were so right, even though I didn't want to listen. Make an outdoor space like 2 or 3 times as big as you think you should make it. Like a patio or a lawn or whatever. And I was designing my patio, my porch, and I was like, oh, this is probably big enough. Like, here's a table, here's a whatever. And my friend who's a landscape architect and was helping me, and she said, double it, triple it. And I was like, I know, but the cost and the whatever. And like, I don't know. I don't need all that. I don't regret it at all. My patio is like 25 by 40. And it's so great because I can fit everything in. I have the seats and the whatever, and my big family and the grill and everything. And I don't know. I think when you're outside, you need to think of it like a room, but you can go bigger.
I'm going to add one little note to all of this conversation because I think it's important too. I think one of the things we think about when we're talking to clients is sometimes people assume that screen porches or outdoor amenities or pool houses cost less because they're not a part of the actual house. And I'm going to sort of like try and dispel some myths.
Are we raining on some parades today, Taylor?
We may rain on a couple of parades.
We gotta
I've already given up that my thumb is black, so I feel like I'm okay to do this. But I'll say this, a screen porch or a deck or a porch requires a level of finish that nobody can cover up. It's going to require some maintenance. But you will see every joint. You will see every screw. You will see all of the things in that space. It doesn't get covered up with drywall. So figuring out how to get electrical there. A screen porch is a complicated piece of a house. So, and just like a pool house is, or an outdoor kitchen, like there's lots of, refrigerators don't really work great in the heat. How do you make spaces that work outside? And it's not a secondary cost thing just because it's not heated and cooled. Sometimes it can be just as expensive or more because the way you have to finish it out and the kinds of things you have to take into account because it's outside can really be a big cost driver.
That's a great point.
Yeah, that's good.
I also want to throw out too that outdoor living spaces, we've talked about entertainment and kids and pool and all that kind of stuff, but there's also a whole other realm of outdoor spaces. We've done outdoor workspaces for clients who clients who like to work on their car. So again, on our small lots, in Cambridge, Somerville, outside Boston, we might have like one sort of area where that can happen. And so how do we set up so that they can work on their car, if that's what they like to do? Or people who like gardening.
Who wants to build a greenhouse in Alabama? Call me.
But even like where you like an outdoor sink where you can wash off the veggies before you bring them in. So it's almost like an outdoor mudroom. So I think thinking not just about entertainment, that's awesome, but also encouraging homeowners to think. It's important to encourage homeowners to think about all of the things that they might want to do outside.
And animals, and lots of times animals
going in and out. Yes.
Yep.
In and out.
Going in and out. Fencing for dogs. So there's a fenced area that the door can just be open and dogs can come and go. And you're not like, ah. So yeah. And fencing to keep certain animals out. So
on the design side, in the planning stages, a couple of things. Number one, privacy. So make sure that you know what windows are looking out and looking in onto your kind of public patio space. And also, if you want a cozier feel and part of it, we're lately, I always try to talk people out of balconies off of their primary bedrooms because nobody ever uses them.
Agreed.
Lately, though, I have two clients that specifically, we talked about this and I'm like, no, I don't think you should do it. And they came back and they said, you know what? Actually, we do take our coffee and go sit just the two of us. We've got 4 kids or whatever, and that is our time. Or we have a glass of wine at night, and we do. Everybody goes to bed and we go sit on our patio. So it can be different for everybody, right? Yeah. And even me, I have my own biases, like nobody's going to use it, but come back and tell me that you will.
Well, and build it around how you live or how you want to live, and I've seen that before where somebody had their coffee balcony and they actually also had a little coffee station inside.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
right
then they
inside.
weren't going downstairs, and it was a coffee station on the second floor. They had overnight guests all the time, so people would stay with them. So there was like the second floor little coffee station.
Nice.
With like a little mini fridge and nothing fancy, just like a little alcove that had the coffee maker and the fridge for cream or a couple bottles of wine or whatever. And I thought that's a great idea. Then, you're not coming back down to the kitchen or whatever. And you can kind of get a cup of coffee, go back into your room. Thanks for joining us today on Home the Second Story for a quick snack. Questions for us or interested in being a guest? Reach out at admin@htsspodcast.com. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to Home, the Second Story podcast. Feel free to share this episode with a friend. Contact information for all three of our architects are in our show notes. And don't miss future episodes. Follow or subscribe to our show for free in Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening right now.